Hello, welcome back to the Scrabble Players Championship coverage. Um, I'm Josh Sokol. Is that the first time I've said that this whole time? If you look at my win-loss record, you'll notice that um, I'm actually doing pretty well at this point in the tournament. I'm 11-6. Um, I think I was like 5-5 or 4-5 at some point in this tournament. I think I've just gone on a 7-1 run, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. Something pretty crazy. And actually, if you take a look at the standings here at this point in the tournament, I was in sixth place. So I had felt really good here. I felt like I had mostly recovered from my really horrendous start to the tournament, and all I needed to do was continue to win. And for the third game in a row, I was paired with a legend of the game, Joe Edley. And if you remember um, my coverage, or if you watched my coverage from the World Cup, Joe and I played in a pretty controversial game. Joe made a really rough mistake, misreading a tile on the board, misreading a C as an O, and losing his turn. But we got into this really crazy situation where I thought that I had 12 more points or 10 more points. I thought that I had 10 fewer points than I actually had. I actually had 12 more points than what I thought I had. And when I noticed this problem um, in the World Cup game, after looking over the game, I was furious and I thought that I had gotten cheated. And upon uh, upon investigation, there was no evidence that Joe did anything out of the ordinary in the game. Of course, I still haven't seen a score sheet. Would be cool to actually see where he made the 10-point mistake that I also have happened to make. But anyways, that was ancient history at this point, but not really. I was actually pretty, um, I guess, not suspicious, but I didn't want to get screwed over again in the same way that I had in the World Cup, and there were lots of counting mistakes in the World Cup I didn't even know about. So my approach this game was to make sure that I tried to mark down every time that I asked for the scores, and he agreed or disagreed with said scores. So I was obviously not fully focused on just playing the game because it didn't seem like that was sufficient against Joe, and that's a recurring theme. I think people that have played Joe a lot, that you can't just play Scrabble against him. It's a psychological game as well, and you have to watch out for certain things that he will do during the games. So, without further ado, let's start. Um, I was first with the rack that you see here, and I chose between the play of Cuz for 28 and Gauze for 34. I chose right. I've actually looked at this game already, or at least the opening position. And yeah, Cuz was best, even though the valuation is 5 points lower than Gauze. The um, completely suffocating defense that this play um, provides is well worth the sacrifice. So Joe is able to take care of the defense of this play by playing Pax. It's a pretty good response. I want to actually look at what Joe's average score is um, after Cuz, comparing it to just Gauze. And actually, his average score, I will bring it up here in the details box, is only 25 points at the moment. It will change if I keep the sim running. It might get lower, it might get higher. But at the moment, yeah, it's at 24.5 points, which just goes to show how incredibly defensive the play of Cuz is. Normally, an average score after Gauze, the average score is 35, and Gauze is not an offensive play. It opens a few things, but yeah, an average score of 35 is very normal. 25 is extremely low, especially after the first turn. But Joe responds with packs, so +4 on the average score. Really, it's not like this is an incredibly bad case scenario, but yeah, I kept the G, and for this exact reason, actually, one of the reasons I kept the G is that if ZA overlaps happened, I thought I could re-overlap with the G a lot of the time. Unfortunately, here I could not. My best play, according to Quackle, is Zag for 13, a play that I wouldn't make, I think, because it just opens an S hook that I don't have for 13 points. And I actually just played Whoop for 12, which also opens an S hook, but the S hook is already there. I mean, I'm giving 8 more points for it, but it's not as dangerous as the K column S hook. And it also blocks a lot of potential plays that Joe might have. So this seemed like the right idea, but Zag, very interesting play. I don't know if anybody that I know would ever make that move, but it's pretty cool. Like, because if Joe thinks I have an S after that play, he's gonna maybe sacrifice points to block, which I definitely would appreciate in this position. And Zag is taking the sim away. Very interesting. I could also play WAP and play the extra vowel for 1 more point. But yeah, I chose to play Whoop. Just Zag seems crazy, but just might work. So Whoop comes down, and Joe, I think, exchanges. I don't know how many tiles he exchanged. I actually didn't write it down. There's also another mistake in my annotation of this game that is actually going to take away from the analysis, sadly. But as I said, I was sort of laser focused on Joe rather than the game at this point in time, which is definitely not useful unless it is. But anyways, I drew another G and another E, and I decided to play Giga. I think that's how you pronounce this word. This is the first time I ever played this word. It's pretty fun. Joe responds with damn for 25. I'm glad he didn't hit me harder than that. And I still don't have an S or a blank. Whoops. I just gave myself an S. Late RET. I had 2 T's, not 2 R's. So, yeah, tail or late seem pretty standard here. I could just keep the AELRT alert leave, which is really good, but where is it really going on this board? I don't have a hook to EME, and a lot of the plays Joe will make will not really give me a spot. So I decided to play late. Which seems better than tail because the overlaps aren't as strong, and putting the T in 4th position is worse than putting an L. So late comes down, but Joe does take advantage of the double both ways and plays shout, and he's ahead by 9. But things seem to be somewhat under control here. Joe's just used his S, so I take this opportunity to make a pretty aggressive play of Izar for 20 points instead of just playing my eye off, which I also could have done. I wanted to make 2 lanes at the same time and score an extra point. But it's possible that XI is better just because of the incredibly strong leave of AEORST. I will be bingoing twice as much after XI compared to Izar. But the play of Izar was more of like, I don't really want to put all of my eggs in one basket sort of thing. It was wrong. I'm looking at the sim and I'm thinking about it. Joe could definitely just have a D to hook Izard. And he could also just have another S to hook it. And I'm giving back this lane that I don't need to give back if I really think that Joe doesn't have a second S, I should play XI. And even if I do think he has a second S, it's a very good play nonetheless. So definitely should just play XI. Strategy medium. So this is a pretty bad mistake, all things being considered. But luckily it doesn't hurt as much as it could because I draw two constants and get to play Teopans. And now I'm in pretty firm command of the game. I'm up 80 points, but Joe says, no, no, no. I'm going to score 56 with Quail. You are not in control. So I draw 3 O's, and I decide to play off 2 of them and a T with Tool, score some points. Once again, I could make some more open play. I guess I could do a fishing play, as we call it, like new here, new there. But I think once again I have a lead. No need really to. Yeah, I don't know. No, it didn't seem like there was any need to fish here, especially with a lot of eyes unseen. If I draw an eye after after a play of OO, I would need some specific tiles to be able to use it. But honestly, the eye isn't that bad. The duplicate eye, I could maybe get some plays on the M column. So the more I think about it, the more I wonder if I should have been a bit more aggressive here. But tools seem more calm and collected and solid. So that is what I played. Joe responds with of for 22. And I draw into a play using the Q, which is just 50 points. So you got to take the 50 points. I play Nikabs. And Joe responds again by scoring very well. He plays K-A-Y. Where does he do this? K-A-Y for 42. Oh, he plays with Shouty, of course, yes. Yeah, this surprised me in the game, too. I hadn't thought of the Y hook for Shout. But yeah, good spot by Joe, keeping himself close on the scoreboard. And unfortunately, I don't have my entire rack here. I know that I had a W, an O, and an L. And I know that I exchanged all the way down to an L. I think I drew like 4 eyes or something really, really bad like that. And I decided to keep an L because I counted, hold on, 6, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 5, 10, 11. I counted 15 vowels, 16 consonants. So I could maybe determine, like, maybe I had like 4 R's? No. I really wonder what I had here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 13, 14, 15 vowels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17 consonants. Huh, interesting. So maybe I had like a Y. No. Yeah, I don't actually know what I had. But I know I kept W-O, and I know that I kept an L. So I think I had 4 constants based on my score sheet. I don't know what those were. But I kept a lone L, and the reason for that, yeah, it must not have been an R then. I must not have had an R, because otherwise I would have kept an R. Unless I had just 1 R and I didn't want to duplicate it. Very complicated. I kept an L because there are lots of vowels unseen. So I did want to keep a consonant. And Joe hits me with kedgeree, a really, really nice word that propels him into a very comfortable lead. Both blanks, scoring 86 points. And yeah, I was pretty screwed after this. Actually, before he did this, he played Jun for 26, and I played bifold, keeping I, which I don't know if I should have played bifid to not keep two eyes, but I felt like scoring points was pretty important here. But yes, Kedgery, sorry, was a turn later. And yeah, this was really, really bad because now my rack was C, V, W. Or was it C, V, W? Okay, I don't know what I clicked instead of that. And I exchanged 6, keeping a C. Or did I exchange 6 keeping an I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I exchanged 6 keeping an I because now the bag was extremely consonant heavy. And I did have 4 eyes, but there were only 2 other eyes to draw to duplicate, so I thought it was important to keep a vowel here. But yeah, things are not looking very good. Joe plays YO for 20 to block the O column triple, and now any bingo I have, unless it starts with an E, is not going to score very well. And Joe has a firm command on the game. So here I play NIMBY from the N, keeping CEN. This is far and away the best play in the position, trying to keep things competitive. Joe plays 2, again playing a lot of defense, blocking some lanes, blocking all these E's, and blocking the R unless I have a 9. So yeah, looking really good for Joe. And I decide to play after complete and utter tank Coven through the O of Leon. I have the last remaining E, and I want to open lanes, and I want to score enough points that I won't be getting outscored by Joe, because I am down 73. So scoring 20, being down 53 should be enough most of the time to outrun. Once Vita, that's never going to win. If I make a 2 or 3 tile play, Joe is likely to not empty the bag and just play off 1 tile to maximize his chances of scoring more than me by the end of the game. So I think Coven is the play I need to make here. Sets up the E hook. This M and this B lane are still possible, but it's a shot in the dark. Very difficult to imagine many paths to victory. Joe confidently plays Virus, blocks everything that he sees. And my final rack is this, Dirtier. I was hoping he'd make another careless mistake like he did at Word Cup and give me a place to play Dirtier, but it was not to be. He did not mistrack. I cannot pass go. I cannot collect $200. The best play is Rhett, setting up Irid and Mirid. I didn't see that. I ended up just playing Rip because that was how I was feeling. Rest in peace, my winning streak. And yeah, this loss wasn't fatal, but it was pretty bad in terms of the standings. 14D is 6 points better. And yeah, here Joe played play that kind of surprised me. He played Vagi and gave me a spot for Tidier for 21, so the end game actually worked out a lot better than it was supposed to work out. And yeah, there's a little funny or not so funny moment after this game. But after I went out and neutralized the clock, normally the way to end the game is your opponent whoever goes out, their opponent shows the tiles that they have left on their rack, and you do the math. In tournaments in North America, you take the full value of opponent's tiles, you double it, and you add it to your score. But in other parts of the world, it's you take the tiles, add it to your score, and then you also subtract it from your opponent's score, which is actually the way I think the rules are written on the game of Scrabble itself. I don't know why we decided to do it like this in North America, but it does seem to be a bit more efficient, easy to calculate. But anyways, also inflates our scores. But in any case, after the play of Tidier, Joe asked to confirm the score 411 to 359 after I had confirmed it twice in the game, and I'll show you the two places where I circled 247 to 250, 309 to 382 is when I asked him clearly to confirm the score, and he did. But he asked to confirm the score 411 to 359, and I was like, I don't know. You have to show me the tile on your rack, basically. Like, I was pretty sure that I'd tracked properly and he had an R, but I wasn't going to agree to the score until I saw the letters, which saw the letter that he had, which he took sort of he was taken aback by that. He was like, "Since when are you this proper?" is what he said. And I was like, maybe I mistracked because the play you made surprised me. So that was my quip. It was like, look, like, I wasn't expecting you to play Vagi. Maybe I don't know what your last letter is. It doesn't make sense for you to have played that, sort of thing. And he was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then he showed me his R, and the game ended. But yeah, I was obviously salty and sassy and ready to call Joe out on any little thing that bothered me. And yeah, I lose. So that was game 18, and I'm actually going to do another game, even though this video is already pretty long. After this, I was 11-7, so back to something like 12th or 10th place, which is still workable. But really not where I wanted to be after making my way all the way back. 18 versus Joe Edley. Especially losing to Edley, I was not wanting to lose to him this tournament, but indeed I did. And the next game was against Jeremy Hall, who was also doing extremely well in the first half. Actually, throughout the entire tournament, he did very well, but especially in the first half of the tournament. And Jeremy Hall is a player who's always been really good, but for some reason, I haven't really had much trouble against him in the past. And he's actually blown a few games that he was going to win. So I have a pretty good record against him. So I was feeling confident coming in. But he was having a good event. So let's see what happened here. He played Cat. And here I actually drew both blanks. This insane rack. And I decided to play addibles, which is not a word. And when I hit the clock, I was like, maybe I'm mixing this up with addibles, which is a word. If I had played this. Oh, that's not a word either. Okay, so I'm just totally making this word up. Addibles. Maybe edibles is what I'm thinking about. But he held the play and released it. Basically because, I mean, he didn't know for sure, but also, I mean, this may as well be a word because I have like 7 million bingos. So a common tactic to draw challenges when you have multiple bingos, try to play the most obscure one or the one you think is most likely to be challenged, which is what I thought I was doing, but then I realized that I was actually playing a phony. But luckily, Jeremy wasn't ready to challenge. And the only 83-point bingo is algebra, is a word that I just did not find and have never been able to find. Never been able to find algebra. I've never been good at it. It's and I can't anagram it. So yeah, that's the only word that puts the B on the double letter score and hits the triple. The next best options are actually not on the triple, because I could play something like Bresaola, but it's just plays making cats that score 78 points. But yeah, I got away with this phony with both blanks, and I was feeling good. And Jeremy had to get rid of a bunch of crap. And here I played Agis for 40, just keeping up the scoring pressure. He played Yo for 29, and so far this was going exactly as I was hoping for. Pretty smooth game. And I draw into this rack. Again, a bit too many vowels. And I could play EAU or I could play Canoe for 26, or I could play EAU there. I decided to just take the points with Canoe. There's a lot of action still remaining on the board. Of course, this E and this S are nice to block. And maybe if I came back to this game, I would have liked to play EAU and block. But of course, boogied and boogies and this E are still wide open. So playing EAU for 14, just giving absolutely nothing back to Jeremy and blocking the L column scoring spot and blocking the E, is performing extremely well in the simulation. This is very interesting. If we bring up the details box, it says that opponent next turn bingos very little after EAU, even more little after G13 EAU, but mostly I'm just scoring some more points and just blocking the board somewhat long term. And our next turn, Quackle thinks that we're scoring 45 on average after L6AU, because it's probably assuming a lot of plays that Jeremy is making are going to open things that he might not actually want to open. So I'm taking this result with a grain of salt, but this is a huge difference between this play and Canoe, and it just goes to show the value of certain defensive plays in certain positions. So L6 EAU sims a lot better. Probably slightly better than this. I played Canoe, and Jeremy plays Misorder through the D. I wasn't blocking that no matter what. He also had Remerids and he had Morrises. Luckily, he didn't play this word, or else I would have had to hear from Morris Greenberg that I got Morrised. I don't think anyone's ever played Morrises against me, and I hope they never do. But yeah, misorders 20 fewer points, so I was very happy. I didn't know, but I'm happy now in hindsight that I didn't get hit even harder with Morrises. And here I play Mucoid through the C. I could play Meowed. Did I see that? Meowed, I guess, is kind of dangerous to put the I out there in space. And I wonder if I'd seen that play, if I would have made it. But Mucoid just makes a lot of sense. Take out the biggest scoring spot on the board, score some points. I'm still ahead. Now I had 48 points. So still looking pretty good here. But Jeremy's able to overlap with Pawn for 31. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Pawn, this isn't chess. Good one. I thought of it too. And I draw a very awkward rack, AO to KIVAU, but I find the play of Umiak, which scores well and blocks a little bit and doesn't open much, and balances pretty well. Of course, AVO is a pretty bad leave, but I was confident that I was doing okay. But here, Jeremy bingos again, unreeves, good find, anagram of revenues. And now he's ahead by 35, and he has a little bit of a command on the game at this point, but I get to play Arvo, keep a very balanced leave, and I'm feeling still pretty decent. But what happens next is X-Bomb. How? Oh, not yet. Okay. Yeah, Jeremy plays. No, that's impossible. He plays Barf for 40, so scoring well and blocking the S. And um, I draw actually NNT, so I triplicate my N, duplicate my T, but I'm able to score 28 with Tanis. But now that my bingo leave has dissipated into thin air, I'm definitely in trouble in this game, and Jeremy has a firm lead, and it is only made better by his X-Bomb of decks for 54 points, and I start regretting my entire life purpose at this point in the game. But I try not to give up hope. I play Poly for 27. Again, I still have this O and this S to work with. He can't block both of them at once, unless he has like a specific play with Boogied, which doesn't fully block. Actually, either of the does fully block the S if he goes all the way down. It doesn't fully block the O. So I have threats. Sometimes threats are better than execution. And Jeremy actually has to exchange here. Let's just say this is his rack. I'll say exchange 6. And yeah, I draw into this rack. So now I do have some breathing room, but the rack that I just drew is just really not helpful at all. So I decided to play Rolf. I could play Noir or Nori and not keep 2 eyes, but I decided that I wanted to create another threat on the board so that he could less easily rid the board of the bingo threats that are on it. So I took some sacrifice and leave immediately just to ensure that I had multiple spots that I was threatening to go in. And I think this is probably correct, even if Quackle thinks it's close. I think in these situations, opening is very important. And yeah, Yez comes down for Jeremy, so he's just scoring while blocking, and now he's ahead 64 points, so I do need to make something happen very fast because things are not looking good. I draw into this rack, and my best option seems to just be wild. Just trying to draw into one of those E's to bingo with the S or the R. INRT works really well with the E and with the G's in the pool. Works really well with a lot of things, and I thought that I had a decent chance here of drawing a bingo, and it says next turn I have a quarter chance of drawing into a bingo, but that's if Jeremy doesn't block anything, so it's probably a bit lower than that. And so Wild comes down, and Jeremy plays 28, so it doesn't block anything. But I miss here, and I play. Oh yeah, this was an insanely difficult move. Here I had no idea what the best move was. There were so many things to consider, but I basically needed to make a 1 or 2 tile play and threaten a high scoring bingo. So I decided to play any for 8 points. And the reason I played any for 8 points is that I was trying to draw an I for shiftier, and I thought that frighter was a word to the R. And so the fact that I thought frighter was a word kind of really screwed with my thought process. Because yeah, if I immediately see what I draw with a C, it's nothing. What I draw with the G is nothing. What I draw with an E is nothing. So it's really, really bad that I'm only drawing into an I with shiftier, which he could very well just decide to block. Was there another thing that I thought I could draw into? I really got extremely low on time here just trying to... Oh yeah, the other thing I was drawing into is thrifter, which is also not a word. So I made a really bad play here of any um, thinking that I was hitting bingos with an I, a G, and a T, which comprised 50% of the bag. But in fact, I was not, and it wasn't even close. So the play suggested is Haji's. Let's see what happens if I get rid of the H and draw a C. Nothing. But if I draw an E, which is the likeliest draw, again, I was looking for something that hit with an E, but I couldn't find anything. So why is it saying to get rid of the H? I don't understand. What am I even drawing into? This is completely ridiculous. Okay. There's no reason that I should play off the H. But yeah, just so much to think about. What else did I think that I could draw? ING words I was looking for. If I drew a G, but I just couldn't find anything. I need to play off 2 tiles for that to work. So basically, the thing I was hoping for is that I would play any, and that I would either hit one of my fishes and Jeremy block the wrong spot, or he would play off like ET or something to try and block this R, and I would draw the G into freighter to win. But I think there are probably better options here. But this is what I found, and yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the words that thought I was drawing into are just not words. And after a while of thinking, Jeremy plays glitter and blocks the R, and uses up the last I. So yeah, I did draw actually the G, and I was ready to play Freighter, but it's not a word. So here I play Fe. I have a much better play. Wow. Of Eater to set up Fight. That is incredible. That's really cool. That is the best endgame play. I wish I would have seen that. That's really awesome. This is 20 points worse. Wow. Really. Sometimes endgames are rough. So I play Fe, out of time at this point. And here actually, the reason I played Fe is I was still trying to win. I thought that if Jeremy, who was overtime at this point, missed my outplay of Grift, played something like Sep, I played Grift, I would somehow win, but I'm so far away from winning. But he actually makes that play, and I play Grift, and I lose 387 to 404. He only went over by 1 minute. I was 70% sure Freighter was a word. I was 100% sure Thrifter was a word. But I just made the wrong decision in the pre-end game, but I don't think there was anything I could have drawn into. But I definitely needed to make better plays this game. Adables was phony, of course. Of course, Jeremy missed some chances himself by not challenging that and by missing Morris's. But yeah, what to say? I think potentially my play of Canoe was just not good. That was a turning point. And yeah, what else to point to? I guess Adables worked out fine, and everything else seemed okay. But yeah, just a rough loss for me. And yeah, that's how I lost 2 games in a row after making my way all the way back to 6th place in the Scrabble Players Championship. Brutal, brutal, brutal 2 games. And now I'm at 11-8 and feeling just as bad as I was feeling 5 games ago. And it's just getting later and later in the tournament. After this game, there are only 12 games left to play. And yeah, it wasn't looking great. Really wasn't looking great. So thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys on game 20, which is a very special game. Stay tuned. I might even have some dual commentary with my opponent, the one and only Will Anderson. So yeah, hope to bring that to you tomorrow. Goodbye.